So we're going to recite this morning Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 68, Text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam tu te viratam vihatam chakrus chatvaras chaturo ayan ekas tu shratim jagne chichedaya chichedanya sharasa sarasanam tam tu te viratam chakrus tam tu te viratam chakrus chatvaras chaturohayan chatvaras chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagne ekastu sharatim jagre chichedanyan sharasanam chichedanya sharasanam tam tu te viratam chakrus chatvaras chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagne chichedanya sharasanam tam tu te viratam chakrus chatvaras chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagne chichedanya sharasanam. Please chant. Someone chant. Tam tu te viratam chakrus chatvaras chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagne chichedanya sharasanam tatu te viratam chakrus chatvaras chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagne chichedanya sharasanam. Someone else? Yes, chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagne chichedanya sharasanam. Matujis. Tam tu te viratam chakrus chatvaras chaturohayan ekastu sharatim jagye chichedanya sharasanam tam him to but te they viratam deprived of his chariot chakruhu made chatvaraha 4. Chaturaha, 4 of them. Hayan, horses. Ekaha, 1. 2, and Sharatim, the chariot driver. Jagne, struck. Chicheda, split. Anyaha, another. Sharasanam, his bow. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Now, actually, whoever is the author here. But they forced him down from his chariot, and thereupon 4 of them struck his 4 horses. 1 of them struck down his chariot driver, and another broke his bow. This is about Samba. The Kurus are attacking Samba here. We'll read a few more till we get to 18, and then we'll stop. Tam badva virati kritya kritshrena kuravo yudi kumaram swasakanyam cha swapuram jayano vishan. Having deprived Samba of his chariot during the fight, the Kuru warriors tied him up with great difficulty and then returned victorious to their city, taking the young boy and their princess. Tashrutva narado tena rajan sanjayata manyavaha kurun pratyadyamang chakru ugrasena prachotida. O king, when the Yadavas heard news of this from Sri Narada, they became angry. Urged by King Ugrasen, they prepared for war against the Kurus. Purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the great sage Narada immediately carried the news to the Yadu dynasty that Samba was arrested and told them the whole story. The members of the Yadu dynasty became very angry at Samba's being arrested, and improperly so by 6 warriors. Now, with the permission of the head of the Yadu's dynasty, King Ugrasen, they have prepared to attack the capital city of the Kuru dynasty. Shantayatu tamramaha sandan vrishni pungavan naichad kurunam vrishnimna kalim kali malapaha jagamaha sinapuram rate natityavarchasaha Brahmanyai kula viddaischa vrittas chandra ivagrai. Lord Balaram, however, cooled the tempers of the Vrishni heroes who had already put on their armor. He who purifies the age of quarrel did not want a quarrel between the Kurus and Vrishnis. Thus, accompanied by Brahmanas and family elders, he went to Hastinapur on his chariot, which was as effulgent as the sun. As he went, he appeared like the moon, surrounded by the ruling planets. Gatva Gajava Yam Ramo Bayo Pavanam Astitaha Uddavam Preshayamasa Chitarastram Babutsaya. Upon arriving at Hastinapur, Lord Balaram remained in a garden outside the city and sent Uddhava ahead to probe King Dhritarashtra's intentions. Purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, when Lord Balaram reached the precincts of the city of Hastinapur, he did not enter, but stationed himself in a camp outside the city in a small garden house. Then he asked Uddhava to see the leaders of the Kuru dynasty and inquire from them whether they wanted to fight with the Yadu dynasty or to make a settlement. Maybe we can stop at that point. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Deshatarine. So this scene, this story is about Samba. He was the son of Krishna and Jambavati. And you may remember how Jambavati became married to Krishna. The origin of that was that there was this very wonderful jewel called the Swayamtaka jewel that belonged to Satyajit, and Satyajit came to Dwarka with this special jewel, the Swayamtaka jewel, and this jewel was a very unusual jewel in that it could produce so much gold. And wherever it was, there would be no famine or any other kinds of natural disturbances. A very powerful jewel. But Krishna actually wanted this jewel to be given to the king, Ugrasen, and Satyajit refused to do that. And he didn't even come and see Krishna. He just kept the jewel and worshipped it and got gold and so on. Then one day, his brother Prasena took the jewel out into the forest, but then Prasena was attacked by this lion who stole the jewel, took it away from him, and then Jambavan, who's called Riksharaj, or the king of the bears, as far as I understand, he fought with this lion, killed him, and then took the jewel from him and then went into his cave. And he didn't actually think the jewel was very important, and he gave it to his son to play with. Meanwhile, in Dwarka, Krishna was being criticized. Actually, Satyajit spread this rumor that Krishna had stolen the gem and killed. But this actually was not true, and Krishna didn't like to be defamed, so he went to try to find out what happened. And he took some of the members of course, Krishna knows everything, but he went and found out what happened, that this lion had killed Prasena and taken the jewel, and then Jambavan had taken the jewel into his cave, and then Krishna alone went into the cave and fought with Jambavan. Now, actually, Jambavan is somebody who had been existing all the way since Ram Lila, and he was a great devotee of Ram, but he didn't immediately recognize Krishna. And so, because he was very angry that somebody had come into his tunnel, into his cave. So then Jambavan and Krishna got into a big fight, which lasted continuously for 28 days. You can just imagine how powerful this Jambavan is, that he can fight Krishna for 28 days. Sometimes Krishna likes to fight. And so he engages his devotees in doing that. So then finally, after that fight, then Jambavan, after 28 days, suddenly became very weak. And because of being defeated by Krishna, he could realize, there's only one person in the universe who can defeat me, and that's Krishna, or God. I can't be defeated by anyone else. They recognized this had to be God. This had to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, his Ram. He recognized him as Lord Ram, who he was a servitor from back in Ram Lila, millions of years previously. And so then Jambavan offered many prayers to Krishna, and then he gave his Swayamtaka jewel to Krishna along with his daughter, Jambavati. And so then Jambavati was married to Krishna, and then there was a son, Samba. Now this Samba was, for some reason, we don't get much information, at least not in Krishna book and so on, but Samba was a bad boy, very bad child for some reason. And because of that, he was always with his mother. So he's known as Sa-Amba, or always with Mamba, always with his mother, Amba. In other words, Amba means mother. So he's called Samba. So now this Samba was the son of Krishna, and so he's not an ordinary person either. He has all the inconceivable potencies of Krishna, and you can see that being demonstrated in this verse that we chanted. Well, actually, it's a few verses before. He's fighting these other warriors of the Kuru dynasty who are very powerful warriors. Each one of them are called arati. Arati means they can take on thousands of men. There's no soldiers today, at least without any modern equipment, who can't take on thousands of other men. But anyway, these warriors like Karna and others, they are very, very powerful. And they all ganged up on Samba, 6 at a time. 6 of them were attacking Samba. Samba himself is a great Maharati. And as I was saying, he has all the inconceivable potencies of Krishna. So he could fight very vigorously with them, and he was almost winning, but then finally they ganged up on him, and finally they were able to arrest him and take him into the city. And then Narada Muni, he relates this, what had happened to the members of the Yadu dynasty, King Ugrasen and others, Balaram. Everyone then became very angry, and they wanted to attack the Kurus, even though they had strong family connections with them and so on. But then Balaram steps up and stops this kind of chivalrous mood that the Yadus were manifesting. Remember, the Yadus are not ordinary people either. They're all the part of the dynasty of Lord Krishna. And so they're descended from the heavenly planets and so on. Some of them are great personalities like Pradyumna and so on. They're not very unusual persons. But anyway, they decided that they wanted to fight, but Balaram stops them. And so now we see Balaram is coming along with Uddhava to try to see if they can have some peace and talk some sense into the Kurus. And we'll see in the succeeding verses after this, Balaram in a very strong way tells the Kurus to release Samba as well as Lakshmana. Of course, the Kurus know, because once a woman is touched by a man, Samba had touched Lakshmana, the daughter of Duryodhana, then she cannot be married to anyone else. So basically, she had to be married to Samba. But still, they wanted to teach a lesson, and they wanted to make an example. So they arrested Samba and took him in. And Lakshmana didn't really want to be married to Samba either. That's another thing. So in any case, then, Balaram comes, and in a couple verses we see that they all come and greet Balaram very nicely with all kinds of articles, and we should see that when the Supreme Lord comes, we have to greet them very nicely. Similarly, when guests come, we have to treat them very nicely. It is said in Atiti Deva Bhavo. Atiti means unscheduled guest, and Deva means God. So we have to treat the unscheduled guest like he or she may be God. And so we take care of the guests very nicely in Vedic culture. That's an important thing to remember in the temple. When the guests come, we have to treat them very nicely. And it's a challenge in a big temple like this one, where so many thousands of people are coming every day. How do we treat the guests nicely with so many people coming? But anyway, management tries. And of course, we want to preach to the guests too. We want them to become devotees. Of course, they have to want to become devotees. We can't force anything on them. We have to try to interest them, and as so much displays are there, to try to attract their attention. And so then whoever is interested, we have to take care of them and try to cultivate their Krishna consciousness. So then they hosted Balaram very nicely. They sent so many articles. They worshipped him in so many ways, just befitting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they knew actually who Balaram was. But then Balaram tells them to release Samba in a very strong way. But the members of the Kuru dynasty, they refuse. And remember who the Kuru dynasty are too. Here it's a lot of times it just says Kurus. But who are the Kurus? They're headed by Bhishmadev. Remember who Bhishmadev is. He's a great personality. He's not only a great personality, he's one of the Mahajans. There's 12 Mahajans. He's one of the great Mahajans, knowers of religious principles and all devotional service. He's a great personality in devotional service even. One of our gurus, you could say. But so Bhishma, and who else is in this group. It's also Arjuna as part of the Kurus. He's also in this Hastinapur. And then, of course, Duryodhana, who's sometimes said to be Kali personified. But, of course, Duryodhana had a special relationship with Balaram. But then the Kurus, they refused to abide by the orders of Balaram. And you might find that hard to understand, because after all, I'm saying they're devotees. Why didn't they just accept the order of Balaram? And so then that's later explained, at least in the Krishna book. I'm not sure about it in here, but it must be here too. And that is that they just wanted to see the inconceivable power of Balaram. So they actually knew who he was, and they knew they should follow his instruction, but yet still they disobeyed just because they wanted to see his power. And then Balaram did something very, very extraordinary, befitting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they wanted to see his inconceivable strength, Prabhupada writes. The Kurus, they simply wanted to see him exhibit his inconceivable strength. So then what did Balaram do? He did actually the very thing. He took the whole city of Hastinapur, took it with his plow, and started to drag it into the river Jamuna. Who can do that except Balaram? He's so powerful. And then all the residents of the Hastinapur started to scream and cry because their city was being destroyed. And so then the leaders of the Kuru dynasty came to their senses and came and offered nice prayers to Balaram and surrendered to him and brought forward Samba and Lakshmana, and then there was a very nice marriage ceremony. So now, perhaps the other point that we can try to understand from this is something about Balaram. Because Balaram is being mentioned here. He's taking an important part in this. This is one of the part of Balaram Leela, this pastime. And we're also can understand that Lord Nityananda is none other than Balaram himself. We've just got through with Gaur Purnim festival, and we're hearing about Chaitanya Leela. And before that was Lord Nityananda Appearance Day. So we're very much now in the mood of Gaur Leela and Nityananda Leela. So we can see actually who is Balaram. He's actually none other than Nityananda himself. And in the 5th chapter of Adi Leela, Srila Prabhupada goes into a lot of explanation about Nityananda Ram, and particularly starts by explaining who is Balaram. Now also, we can see in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada explains something about Lord Balaram's glories when he first appeared. Shri Shri Gaura Ki Jai, Shri SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple Ki Jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshmana Ki Jai. Now it said, Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhya. The purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. We have to get the favor of Lord Balaram and Lord Nityananda if we want to attain that supreme platform of self-realization. Now, the word bala means strength, but it doesn't mean physical strength, Srila Prabhupada explains. It means spiritual strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection just by physical strength. one must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balaram, or Sankarshan. Prabhupada explains Sankarshan as attracting deity. Now there's 5 different forms of Balaram. Among one of them is Ananta or Shesha. Shesha especially is the form that serves Balaram. Ananta or Shesha is the source of power which sustains all the universe, all the planets in their different positions. We see in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, Gam, just when you want to remember these verses, you forget, even though I know them. Gama Vishya Chabutani, Daryami Ama Ujasa, Pushnami Chosadi Sarva, Soma Bhutva Vashatmakaha. So, Krishna keeps all the planets in their orbits through Balaram, through the expansion of Balaram in this Sankarshan form. Now, and then the scientists like Newton and so on, they tried to give a mathematical expression, and they called it something. They gave a name to it called gravity. And so some Prabhupada explains how this Sankarshan is actually this gravity. So the planets stay in motion. Of course, it is explained in Surya Siddhanta and even in Bhagavatam how the planets and so on are kept in motion by these ropes of air. But we can understand that Krishna is sustaining them. Gama Vishya Chabutani Daryami Amojasa. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. Gam means planet here. And Avishya means entering. Daryami means sustains. You can see the sun is rising every day with great regularity. And the moon is rising every day with great regularity. And similarly, all the other planets like the Mars and Jupiter and Brihaspati and Shani and so on, they're all staying in their orbits. And they follow certain very clear mathematical regulative principles. Those are given, those equations and maths are given in the Surya Siddhanta. The material scientists have tried to discover those laws, and to some extent they have some algorithms for calculating the positions of planets and so on. So all that regularity, though, the precise regularity of the sun, the moon, and the planets is all due to Krishna, though. Of course, the scientists, they tend to ignore that. They ignore that, unfortunately. On the plea, oh, it's not scientific because I can't test it empirically, so they ignore it. But that's not proper science. So now, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Balaram, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master is the representative of Balaram, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who supplies spiritual strength. So we get spiritual strength then from Balaramji. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is there in the heart, is called Chaitya Guru, and externally he comes in the form of the spiritual master. It's said that we're wandering through all the different universes, and eventually, if we're fortunate, then we come in contact with the spiritual master. So when we come in contact, or we come in contact with the great sadhus, devotees, and so on, and the representatives of the sadhus and so on, the friends of the sadhus and so on. When we come in contact with these persons, we shouldn't ignore them. We should hear what they say. It's said that one should Actually, Lord Chaitanya, he elevates this sadhu sangha, hearing from the devotees, to even a higher platform than, say, Sarvadharman Parityaja. Jnana Prayasa Mudapasya Namanta Eva. This is actually glorified by Lord Chaitanya as the real sadhya, or the goal of life. It's to hear from the sadhus, from the devotees, from the spiritual master, who is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. So now, then, when Krishna, first of all, what had happened when Krishna wants to appear, first of all, he appears in the heart of Vasudeva, and then he's transferred to the heart of Devaki, and then he appears in her womb. But before that, he sends Balaram in the form of Sesha. And the problem is that before the birth of Krishna, there is the birth of these Sadgarbhasura, the 6 demons who had been killed earlier by Kalanemi. So they all took birth in the womb of Devaki. So then you can ask, well, if these asuras had been in the womb of Devaki, how can Krishna come there? That question comes up in the Bhagavatam, at least in the purport. Prabhupada gives a long purport there in which he explains, first of all, how Sesha goes and makes things ready for Krishna to appear. And so then Krishna can appear. Now this is the service. Lord Sesha is always performing personal service for Krishna. So after this arrangement by Balaram or Sesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered the mind of Vasudeva and then eventually entered the womb of Devaki. And then after that, Krishna asks Yogamaya to transfer Sankarshan or Sesha to the womb of Rohini, and she does that. So Sesha makes a suitable arrangement then so that Krishna may go to the womb of Devaki. So now in Madhya Lila chapter 20, text 172, it says how the first manifestation of the Vaibhav feature of Krishna is Sri Balaramji. Now, Sri Balaram and Krishna have different bodily colors. Krishna is a blackish color, and Balaram is white. But otherwise, Sri Balaram is equal to Krishna in all respects. So Balaram then is the first manifestation of his personal expansion. So Balaram, Lord Nityananda then is the Balaram, and he's the original Sankarshan and Mahasankarshan. And then his expansions as the Purushas and the universes are plenary expansions then of Lord Balaram or Nityananda Prabhu. So Lord Balaram then is the original Sankarshan. And he assumes 5 other forms to serve Lord Krishna. Now, I found that sentence kind of interesting. Now I'm quoting here exactly from Prabhupada. Lord Balaram assumes 5 other forms to serve Lord Krishna. A lot of times we say he expands, but here Prabhupada says he assumes 5 other forms. And who are those 5 other forms? Then a few verses later, I'm reading now from Adi Lila chapter 5. Balaram helps in the pastimes of Lord Krishna. We see so much Balaram's role in Krishna Lila. There are so many places where that happens. For example, Balaram kills a Dainikasur. You can remember different pastimes of Balaram. Now, he does the work of creation, though, in these 4 other forms that I'm going to list now. He executes the orders of Lord Krishna in the work of creation. And in the form of Lord Shesha, he served Krishna in various ways. So now, Balaram, as the chief of the original quadruple forms, is also the original Sankarshan. So now here's the 5 forms that I mentioned. Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna, expands himself in 5 forms. What are they? Mahasankarshan, Karanakshayi, Garbhadakshayi, Shuradakshai, and 5 is Sesha. These are the 5 forms of Balaram, which we sometimes refer to as expansions, usually. These 5 plenary portions are responsible for both the spiritual and material cosmic manifestations. In these 5 forms, Lord Balaram assists Lord Krishna in his activities. The first 4 of these forms are responsible for the cosmic manifestations, whereas Sesha is responsible for personal service to the Lord. Sesha is called Ananta, or unlimited, because he assists the personality of Godhead in his unlimited expansions by performing an unlimited variety of services. So there's a good explanation of Ananta. We know the word Ananta means unlimited. But why is he unlimited? Because he assists the personality of Godhead in his unlimited expansions by performing an unlimited variety of services. Sri Balaram is the servitor Godhead who serves Krishna in all affairs of existence and knowledge. Lord Nityananda Prabhu is the same servitor Godhead. Balaram performs the same service to Lord Gauranga by constant association. So many pastimes of Lord Nityananda are there in which he's helping and serving Lord Gauranga in his pastimes. Lord Gauranga tells Balaram to go and preach. Tells Lord Nityananda to go and preach in Bengal and what's now become Bangladesh and so on. And so then he goes and he preaches, but still he wants to come back and be with Lord Gauranga, and Lord Gauranga tells him, no, you should go, don't come and visit me during the Ratha Yatra. But Balaram, Lord Nityananda still wants to come back and be with Lord Gauranga. So Balaram is really preaching. He's given that mission of preaching. Lord Nityananda is given the mission of preaching by Lord Gauranga. Well, you can see there, that's his manifestation. Balaram is the original spiritual master. We can glorify a little bit. There's Lord Krishnadas Kaviraj has started Chaitanya Charitamrita with 12 verses, very important verses. There's a number of verses about Lord Chaitanya. And then there's 5 verses about Lord Nityananda and the glories of Lord Nityananda. I'll read one of them. Sankarshana karana toya shayi garboda shayi chapayo bil shayi sheshashchayam sham shakalasa nitya nandakya ramam sharanam mamastu. May Lord Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Sesha, Naga, and the Vishnus, who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and the ocean of milk are his plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portion. Well, that's the 7th of those. Actually, there's 14 verses in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can repeat, may Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Nityananda Ram ki jai, Balaram ji ki jai. We should always remember Balaram then. Sometimes some devotees, some people in Chaitanya Charitamrita, some devotees and so on, they couldn't understand Lord Nityananda, and actually that was the pastime that's later described in this Adi Leela we always have to remember Lord Nityananda. We can't separate Lord Nityananda and think, oh, I'm going to worship Lord Gauranga, Lord Nityananda, he's just another person. No. Lord Nityananda is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead also. So we have to worship him also and remember him. We can't think, oh, now I'm going to just remember Lord Gauranga. No, we have to remember Lord Nityananda also and offer obeisances to him. Similarly, if we may say, oh, I'm Krishna Bhakta, but Ram, Balaram, no. I'm only Krishna Bhakta. But no, we also have to remember Balaram. And one time, actually, Lord Chaitanya, on the other hand, you could say, you can remember the past time there was one devotee who was a devotee of Ram Bhakta. And he always wanting to remember Ram, Ram, Ram. And then Lord Chaitanya started to preach the glories of Krishna to this. I think this is Murari Gupta, yeah. And so, but then, this devotee, he was so much sorry he couldn't even get to sleep at night because he thought, now I have to become Krishna Bhakta. But I'm Ram Bhakta. So they stayed awake the whole night. But then Lord Chaitanya was very pleased by that mood of absorption of that devotee. I think it was Murari Gupta. So, the balance has to be there. We have so many personalities that we are meditating upon. First of all, we have Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should read Krishna book every day. But then also we're devotees of Lord Gauranga and Lord Nityananda. We should also read about Lord Gauranga and Lord Nityananda. We can't exclusively say, oh, I'm not going to only read about Lord Nityananda. We also have to read about Lord Chaitanya, and we have to remember those pastimes, all of the pastimes, Krishna, Balaram, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, all of them, we have to be remembering them all and chanting about them every day. Now, of course, we have the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you may be wondering, well, people that were asking Prabhupada, who's Lord Rama in the Mahamantra? Is it Balaram or is it Ramachandra? Who's being referred to there? And it's both. Prabhupada actually in one place he talks about that. So we're meditating both on Ram Leela and Krishna Leela. Now in a couple of weeks, Ram Nomi is coming up. And we get merged in Ram Katha. We've been having Chaitanya Leela now for a week or two. Chaitanya Leela for a week or two. Now we have Ram Leela for a week or two. So in this way, we always want to remember Krishna. If we can remember Krishna and never forget him, then that's actually the supreme rule of all rules. There are so many rules and regulations. Prabhupada says, if I told you all the rules, you would faint. And we see in so many rules and regulations are there in deity worship and so many matters. But the main rule is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. We have the principles of sadhana bhakti. So many rules are there. And of those we can remember, especially the coming from Mangala arati is one of, actually I call it the sixth principle of devotional sadhana bhakti because Prabhupada explains it that way in Nectar of Devotion. And then, of course, we have the Hare Krishna mantra. We have to chant that 16 rounds every day. And how all those things come around and help us to remember Balaram and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. Before chanting Hare Krishna, we should always invoke the mercy of the Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Brahma Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Any questions?
Hare Krishna. When we go for Mayapur Parikrama, we see in some temples where Bhaktivinoda Thakur established, we see Gaur Gadadhar is being worshipped. In ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada established Gaur Nitai. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, all the temples, he established Gandharvika Giridhari and Mahaprabhu. Can you throw some light on why this? Why only Mahaprabhu they are worshipping? Why not Nityanand Prabhu? Because like the past time you explained Murari Gupta, once Lord Chaitanya observed, Murari Gupta first offered obeisance to Lord Chaitanya and then to Nityananda Prabhu. Then Mahaprabhu corrected him, saying that you have committed an offense. You must offer obeisance to Nityananda Prabhu first, then to myself. Then Murari Gupta offered in that way, and then Mahaprabhu was pleased with him. So that is there. So what is the funda between Siddhanta between behind Bhaktivinoda Thakur worshipping Gaur Gadadhar and Bhaktisiddhanta worshipping only Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada worshipping Gaur Nitai?
Those are very difficult topic questions, but we see that Gadadhar is actually expansion of Radharani, yes? So we can, that sometimes that's there, we think of Gaur Gadadhar as Radha Krishna, but even that's, you have to be a little careful about all of that, but it's different. I don't think we shouldn't come to the conclusion that somehow, oh, now I'm not going to worship Lord Nityananda or Balaram. That would definitely be a mistake.
Because in ISKCON we worship Gaur Nitai and then we are well devoted. Because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he chastised his brother because he offered he didn't offer proper respect to Miniketan Ramdas because he was a devotee of Lord Nityananda. So then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami chastised his own brother and forsaken him. Then that day Nityananda Prabhu came in the dream of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Then he ordered him, go to Vrindavan, all your desires will be fulfilled. So then Vrindavan Das Thakur, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami claims that by the blessings of Nityananda Prabhu, I am writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then Vrindavan Das Thakur, he says in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila that Vrindavan Das Thakur, he is a great, very favorite devotee of Lord Nityananda. That's why he could write Chaitanya Bhagavat. So only by Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, we got Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat and other. Then he says that somebody who worships Lord Gauranga and Krishna and then he doesn't worship Nityananda, better they don't worship anybody. They are demons.
Yes, thank you.
So that tattva is there, clear. But my question was, anybody can throw some light.
We should, the point is that it's different realizations and different meditations of these great devotees. That's what I would say. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is meditating on Gaur Gadadhar, so he makes temple of Gaur Gadadhar. That's his particular meditation and realization. It's not to the exclusion of, or the lack of glorification. But also, maybe you can see Srila Prabhupada has given us Gaur Nitai. He's told us to worship them because he understands the glories of Lord Nityananda and he wants us to think about those glories. Namely, Lord Nityananda is Balaram himself and actually he's the spiritual master of the whole universe. Another reason, of course, and Prabhupada wanted to establish the Krishna Balaram temple so that he could make devotees realize the non-difference of Gaur Nitai and Krishna and Balaram. So maybe we can take Prabhupada's giving us a Gaur Nitai instead of maybe Gaur Gadadhar or something as to encourage us to understand the glories of Balaramji and Nityananda Prabhu and so on. That would be all I can say. Anyone else? Comments? Very deep topics there. Any other questions? Are you all going to take up and remember Lord Balaram now? Well, perhaps these pastimes are good. This whole chapter is a good way to meditate on Balaram more. We come and have Balaram Appearance Day once a year, and perhaps we meditate on Balaram Leela on that day. We should take it as our mission also that we have to remember Balaram all the time. not just on Balaram Parents' Day, but all the time. And in general, janma karma chamedev yam evam yo vedi tatpataha. If you can understand that Krishna's appearance and Balaram's appearance, their janma and karma, are divyam, or transcendental, then you'll go back to Godhead. Similarly, if one can understand how Lord Gauranga, Lord Nityananda, and all these devotees are all of Chaitanya Lila or Nitya Siddha devotees, you can understand, then we'll go back to Godhead. So the meditation has to be on Gauranga, Nityananda, Balaramji, Krishna. All of these great personalities have to be our object of constant remembrance, not to the exclusion of one or the other, or that we'll offer obeisances only to one or the other, because then that will be an offense. Any other questions? Shri Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hare Hare.